Yeah, extremely disappointing day. Probably the maybe one of the worst in that I can remember in my 30 years of coaching, and it's just our fans and our university and our administration and our players deserve better than what we finished the season. And I know that obviously we've had our share of injuries and all that, and losing Day and some linebackers, but we certainly hadn't been the same team since Arkansas, and that falls directly on me, and it's an awful feeling. And obviously I'm certainly not taking anything away from Coach Keel and his crew. They were hungry to be bowl eligible, and they beat us in every facet of the game, and every break went against us, it felt like, the penalties, the turnovers, obviously, and so give them credit. But it's certainly disappointing, and be tough to sleep with this one. But nothing will take away what these seniors have done for this program. To elevate it to the point where our expectations are so high, and obviously to win against Power 5 teams, and this is our 4th consecutive year with at least 8 wins, and it's just disappointing, and really stings that we didn't finish the season better, and it's kind of just what will stick in your gut right now, and that we've got to try to figure out. And obviously last year this happened, and we had a great bowl prep and played really well in the bowl game, and so that is the hope, that these seniors can experience that instead of a game like today.
Coach, what was the feel of your team going to the hotel last night, coming into the building this morning, coming out of the locker room?
It was really good at the hotel. We had a great morning together. We honored our seniors with it was one of the most genuine, best times of honoring a senior class that I've been a part of. It was incredible. But certainly when we got to the stadium this morning, it was a different feel in the locker room, and boy, it just was zero energy on the sideline or in the stadium today, and we couldn't get any, and it certainly showed.
Is that because of they were reporting? There's a lot of reports out this morning linking you to another position. Did that factor into it?
It sure didn't help. I have a really unique relationship with my boss Ian and with our players, and they know that I'm very transparent and honest with them, and I've certainly told them if I ever got to the point where someone was pursuing and me, and I thought it was right for Jill and I and our family, that I would tell them, and and I have not told them that, and for that to come out, and I haven't been offered a job, but it certainly was hard to refute that report, and it definitely it was bothering some people, and just hate it.
Was it addressed with the team pregame?
I was asked directly, by them, and so I did, and so it was, whether or not that had to do, I think it had something to do with our flatness for sure, but I'm not one to dodge people that I care for and love's questions, and I'm not one to tell them something that's not true, and so I tried to tell them the truth, but I think it was just an odd feeling.
What comment can you provide on that status right now, or is it something you're still working through?
Yeah, I've told, I've communicated with Ian. If someone ever wanted to talk to us that interests us, I would always tell him. And is the job that everyone's talking about, one that I would have an interest in of talking with? Sure. Does that mean that doesn't mean they have not offered me a job? And, you know, who knows where that's headed, but I've always said I love being here on the mountain. I'm happy here, but I'm not going to sit and say to our kids or somebody, you know, that's just absolutely false. There's no interest in it. But the part that is false is there's been no offer made to me, and nor have I accepted anything. And I think that's what our kids came in the locker room kind of feeling.
You mentioned the quarterback play this year, and each one had a turnover today. That's 23 on the year that the quarterbacks have been responsible for. Is that something that just has contributed to, was a contributing factor to today?
Of course. You know, we were driving twice and turned it over. Both times it resulted in touchdowns, and it's been that kind of year for us offensively, and we haven't taken care of the ball, and that is you're not going to win college football games doing that. And this spring, the quarterbacks have got to really go to work on taking care of the ball.
Ahmad's ejection, did you feel that was a targeting call?
The replay looked like to me that by the letter of the law, his crown of the helmet did make contact. It was not vicious at all, but by the letter of the law, I think that is targeting.
It was Charlie's first time really getting substantial snaps. How was his hand feeling, and how do you feel about the way he played?
Other than the one pick, I thought he was playing pretty solid. I think his hand still bothers him. It's not coming out like it did in fall camp, and then JB got a cut on his, and the ball wasn't coming out of his hand very well. There at the second half, it was kind of floating on him. It looked like he had put tape all over it, and I think his grip was a little iffy.
I know you said you'd wanted to settle in on one today, but just circumstances kind of dictated it.
Yeah, you know, I was hopeful that Charlie would light it up, and but all three had good practice times and felt like we could move the ball with all three, and I think we did at times. But all three turned it over also and took some sacks when we should have thrown it away, things that we've got to coach better.
The defense today, what were the communications like there with you and Coach Aldridge?
It was unlike anything we've experienced this year from our defense. We didn't tackle well the last 3 games, and we just looked like a really tired football team. And, you know, and we've kind of looked like that since the Arkansas game. And I know, you know, but we didn't fit the run very well, and we gave up a few explosive passes. We didn't stay on top of routes, and there's no telling how many penalties we had that resulted in first downs.
Do you think it has anything to do with the past 2 close losses? Maybe it's taken a mental drain on
Well, college football is a mental drain. You know, 12 games is a mental drain. Particularly, we've had 12 games where it's 4 quarters every game, and our kids have had to play a lot of snaps and a lot of, against some good football teams and several Power Fives that have more depth and stuff. So it's there's no question that we need to evaluate, you know, the things that you know, we're getting to this point this season, and we don't look like the same football team. And again, that falls on me to figure out.
In terms of the news that came out earlier today and the impact on your team, how do you go about addressing that? Do you have plans to address that with your team?
I had to address it when I was asked about it, and I did.
Are you going to release an official statement soon?
I don't need an official statement. I don't have any news to report.